So if you've been watching the weekly updates later, I've been saying how I had already recorded this video. And I had recorded it before I even left for vacation a couple weeks ago. But I can't find it, so let's do it again. Hey, what's up, bookworms and berserkers? Mike back again to talk a little more Kentaro Miura Berserk. And guys, today we're getting into the very, very famous Golden Age arc of the very famous manga. And that is from 1991, 1994, totals 102 chapters. So this one is quite different from the last review. I talked about the Black Swordsman right here. And with the Black Swordsman, by comparison, it was 7 chapters. So yes, it very much was just the tip of what seems to be a mountain, much more than an iceberg. But guys, I've talked in that video and obviously in the actual why I decided to read Berserk video about why I decided to do this. It has nothing to do with the passing of Kentaro Miura. This was something I decided to do, and tragically he passed right after I started, so it was just poor timing on my behalf. But this is something that has been very requested. I did that video on why I decided to read, and it said, if you guys want me to keep talking about this, I will. And in Black Swordsman, basically, everyone has just wanted me to get to the Golden Age. So here we are, guys. We are here. And I feel like this arc is legendary among the community, because I said, how I said in why I decided to read was, even if you didn't read manga, you knew the name Kentaro Miura. And for some reason, I knew about this Golden Age arc before I'd even touched this series, because every comment that I ever got was, well, if you do decide to read Berserk, make sure you read at least through the Golden Age before you decide on it. Well, I mean, that is only, 15 volumes worth of this series. But did it meet the hype? Now, if you guys see the shirt, you probably know, yeah, it probably met the hype for me. But let's go ahead and do the standard review like we would anyway. And let's begin with what is it about. Now, in a flashback that takes us back to the very birth of Guts, and a coming-of-age tale that sees him go from a child reluctantly kept alive among bandits, all the way to becoming a captain of a legendary group of mercenaries. Guts meets the enigmatic Griffith, who desires his power to help him achieve his goals. And over the years, the bonds deepen between Guts and Griffith, and with their success on the battlefield, Griffith gets closer and closer to achieving his dreams. Despite all their success, Guts begins to question his reasons for fighting for Griffith's dream, which, unbeknownst to Guts, is destined to bestow a monstrous fate for them both. And guys, that leads us into 1991's Golden Age, or well, I guess 91 to 94. Very, very famous arc. Like again, I said, I don't feel like there's anyone who's watching this who's not heard of this, but I just want to let you guys know this is going to be non-spoiler for the first half, and then I'm going to talk spoilers at the very end. So I feel like I said, if you've reached this far in the video, you probably have already read this, because I don't imagine anyone who's never read this is interested in a third video on Berserk, a series they have never read. But just in case, I do want to kind of follow the standard format and then get into spoilers. So let's do that now. Let's begin, like always, with what makes it good or bad. Now, guys, the good up front. If you don't know, the coming-of-age tale is my favorite subgenre in all of literature. I love it to death. I've been a huge Stephen King fan since I was a teenager, and that is something that he excels at. He hits a home run when he does the coming-of-age story every time. It's just made me a sucker for it in any genre, especially when it comes to fantasy. Now, there are plenty of fantasy stories who try to do this with the good old Chosen One and all that kind of stuff. This is the first one I feel like, okay, it's doing the coming of age thing, and it's not really doing this whole Chosen One farm boy leaves home. No, this has a much, much darker beginning, but it does chronicle all the way from Guts' birth to kind of getting to where we are at the beginning of the Black Swordsman arc. And it's a fun ride. I don't want to say fun. It is an enjoyable ride, but man, it is a roller coaster of emotions. But seeing everything that Guts goes through in the Golden Age arc, in hindsight, has made the Black Swordsman even better. Because you go back to that video and you hear me talk about the good and the bad and the things that I said that I didn't really like that much on it. I feel like they've all been fixed because of this. I feel like it's the kind of thing. I'm going to sound like a Malazan reader now. Now, on a reread, that's going to make a lot more difference. But looking back on it now, I'm like, okay, I get a lot of things now. It makes his trust and his personal space issues make more sense now. It makes them much more clear. And in a way now where I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So yes, it makes the previous arc better. It's like what I said about certain movies. When the sequel comes out and it makes the first one better, that's, the sequel not only can stand on its own, but it can make something better. That is a really, really special thing. And I think that definitely happens here. But I think the characters for this, especially the ones in the Band of the Hawk, are really what makes this go. Because it's more than just Griffith, it's more than just Guts, more than just Casca. There are all these side characters that you grow to love as well as the thing. But I want to talk about the big ones here first. Obviously, Griffith. This is one that, like I said, I knew of this character before I even got to this part. So it was kind of, you saw with the Black Swordsman arc, you kind of saw Griffith. But this, you get to see how it was, why Guts is so pissed at him when he sees him in the Black Swordsman. And man, to me, Guts wasn't mad enough, honestly. Because you see what goes through here. But Griffith, he is an amazing, amazing character. So many layers to this character. And he's almost like a mythical kind of like Knights of the Round Table kind of character that you want to be like and you want to follow. You can see why the people in this band here really, really want to follow him. They want to please him. They want to make him happy. They want to help him achieve his goals. But I also got to talk about Casca here, because Casca is a character that took a little longer for Casca to grow on me than it did for Griffith. But yeah, Casca is a character that you fall in love with over the course of the story. She has a wonderful, wonderful arc as well in here. She isn't just okay, we don't want this to be a boys' club, so we got to throw a girl character in, because you have other ones. But yeah, she is just fantastic. I love her dynamic, not just with Griffith, but also obviously with Guts. It's really, really special. And it's a character, like I said, I can't wait to see where it goes from here, because, man, some wild stuff do be happening with them here. But yeah, that trio of Griffith, Guts, and Casca is one of my favorites now in all of comics. And I know this is manga, guys, but I'm still going to call them comics, okay? It's like when people get mad when I call Watchmen a comic, and they're like, it's a graphic novel. You know what I mean, okay? So of that format, I'm just saying that that is one of my favorite trios in all of it. And so that's as much comics as I've read in my life, guys. That shows you how impressive that really is, that he's able to get that across. But like I said, all those other characters, Jadot, Pippin, Rickard, Gaston. Gaston? Yeah, Gaston. Crocus is kind of a dick, but he's that dick that you love to hate, and you hate to love kind of thing. But again, you can differentiate all these different characters. They aren't just there to be, red shirts or lambs of the slaughter. That you grow to love the other members of this band that are just supporting characters as well. And that is something that isn't done a lot in a lot of comics like this that I've read. A lot of, fantasy warfare. They really are just, like I said, red shirts are just there. So, okay, we got to kill a character. Let's kill that one, because you've seen that one more than once or twice, and we can't kill our main characters. But man, one of the biggest things in here is the battles. I can't describe how awesome some of these battles are. I mean, there's Guts versus the 100. There's the fight versus the Blue Whale Knights. The battle for the Doldry. There's so many more. I just can't remember all the names of them. But it seems like every couple of chapters, every other chapter, so you start having like a big battle, and you would start to think that would get exhausting or repetitive, but it doesn't. It really doesn't. And I think that Kentaro Miura, I don't think that there's hardly anyone that can do a splash page as good as him, because like I said in that why I decided to read is that it didn't take long to read these, because it seemed like every fifth page was a splash page, and I'm glad because they are gorgeous and they are awesome to look at. But I gotta say, guys, believe it or not, the romance is going to be one that I'm going to put on the good here. I say this because I get this reputation as a guy who hates romance. I don't know why, because what I said is, like in fantasy, I hate insta-love. Like, these two characters are in love for no other reason besides the author told us so. No, the romance in here between two key characters, I'm not going to tell you which one, because I want you to figure this out for yourself, which two kids get together here. But it is so good, and you will feel things. You will actually feel things. And again, you can do that in a story like this. That is very impressive, especially when certain characters don't have a lot of dialogue, and you can still get those emotions across. Yes, Kentaro Miura was brilliant. He really, really was. And I think that comes because of the dialogue. But before I move on to the dialogue here, the romance here, there is a moment with a first kiss in this that is so beautiful that you will just like stare at that panel for at least 30 seconds. So good, so good. You guys probably know what I'm talking about if you have read it. But yes, the dialogue, especially Griffith. There is a speech that Griffith gives about dreams and about who he considers a true friend that will stick with you for so long. It is really incredible. It's like the kind of thing that if they ever made like an adaptation, I know they made like an anime adaptation, so don't jump on me there. But I'm saying like this is the kind of thing like as a fantasy reader, I read mostly fantasy books, guys. So when you read like a fantasy book and you say, if this ever gets made into a movie, if it is not recited word for word like this, they've done it wrong. They've done the fans a disservice. And this speech is very much like that. It is incredible. And I read it probably 3 times in a row because it was so good. And that's why I used it in that intro for the why I decided to read Berserk. But I like that he does lay out a little hooks for the future. You know, he introduces a Zod. He introduces the Skull Knight. And I don't think that there's really a complete explanation for everything about these guys yet. So there's lots of hooks for the future. This is a very complete and satisfying arc, but there are plenty of to go along with everything else. So you're going to have lots of questions that you still want to see answered. You want to see a resolution to. I guess I'll kind of get on to. No, there is one more thing before the bad, because this one's kind of in the middle here, because people are going to be surprised that I consider this a good thing. The dread. And yes, I consider the dread a good thing here, because if you read The Black Swordsman, you know that this isn't going to end well between Guts and between Griffith. So, you know what he becomes. And so you're trying to tell yourself as you're reading this, don't fall in love with Griffith as a character. Don't fall in love with this bromance between Griffith and Guts. Don't fall in love, and you will fall in love. It's just nothing you can do about it. They're just written so well that you will start to just forget about, oh yeah, this is where we're going. I'm just going to forget. I'm just going to kind of along for the ride here. I'm having a great time. So again, he is a brilliant writer if he's able to do that. It's like he's told you how it's going to end, but he's going to tell you how it got there. You're going to forget about how it ends because you're enjoying yourself so much. There are a couple of bad things here, and as always, these are going to be subjective. Look, guys, I am seriously nitpicking here. Seriously. I still think Guts might be a little too OP, like a little too much. I mean, that fight versus the 100, awesome, but it still might be a little too OP. But again, I have accepted that, and I love it. I love how OP he is. It's awesome. Makes him a great character. But it also does seem like every, 10 chapters, there's a new big bad, and they're bigger and badder than the last time. It's like, okay, well, you thought that there was no way Guts is going to beat this one, so, check this out. Oh, these are like the most feared thing in the land. And it seems like he says that like 4 or 5 times about, oh, God, these are like the things that nightmares have nightmares about, that kind of stuff. So that kind of might seem repetitive or whatever. To me, it's like, okay, cool, new big baddies for Guts to cleave into. Yes, bring them on. But that's really it, guys. Like I said, I'm seriously nitpicking here. This arc is incredible. So there isn't very much for me to really pick apart, except the bad would be that it ended. Really, that's about it. But let's get into why you should read it, guys. If you love the coming of age tale, you are going to have a blast. This is everything I love about the coming of age tale. Everything from, just the struggles of youth in a bad situation to, first love, things like that, camaraderie, brotherhood, making friendships along the way. All that stuff is here, and it shows Guts growing from a newborn all the way to where we saw him in The Black Swordsman. So it is a beautiful flashback, and it is done so well. I think you're going to be in heaven if you love the coming of age tale. And I think the art, you guys, the art just gets better and better. I am blown away constantly about how good his art is. It really is. And like I said, man, those splash pages, some of the best in all of comics ever. I think if you are the type that you want a roller coaster of emotions, like I said, I'm not going to say this is all fun. I'm not going to say this is all sad. I'm going to say it's everything and a little bit in between. It really has every range of emotion that you are looking for. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You're going to fucking be like, fuck yeah. You're going to be like, oh God, no, what's going to happen here? I mean, you're going to go through all those things here. And again, that is just a very well written story. Look, guys, I'm not going to lie to you here. And I'm saying it even more than last time. Serious content warning here. Okay, if you are queasy, if you are sensitive about anything, you might want to consider, I don't know, I don't want to say not reading it, but just be prepared, because there is gratuitous violence. There is sexual assault. Big time. Big time. It is all in here, and they pull no punches. This is not an American comic, guys. There is none of that. They have no buffer. He is just going for it. So I just want you to know, I don't care. I love these things. That's what makes grimdark, right, you guys? But there are some people that are going to be severely bothered, not only by some of the content, but by some of the depictions, the way that they are drawn. They're very in your face. They do not hide anything. This is very, very R-rated, NC-17 probably rated. If you guys aren't in the States, you don't know what that rating means. It's like, in the States, X is pornography and R is adults only. NC-17 is kind of in the middle of those. Yes. So that's kind of where it is. And I will say, if you do decide to read this, it is not safe for work. Because I learned this the hard way. I was reading on my iPad on my lunch break, and I was like, flipping past some of these pages. I'm like, I'll look at these when I get home, because I could not. I just knew someone was going to walk by right as I was looking at that. But I have some final thoughts here before I get into spoilers, guys. Look, this is straight here. This is one of the best coming-of-age stories I have ever read. Ever. And I have read a ton of them. This is up there with the best of the best. It has everything that I look for in a coming of age story. It is brilliant and is not hyperbole, guys. This is not recency bias. I finished reading this 3 weeks ago, I think. So yeah, it's not just I'm really excited or something. I've had time to think about it, and I think I've only grown to like it even more over these past few weeks. It's something that I know I will read again. It's something that I don't watch anime, guys, and I'm very interested in watching the anime that's on Netflix for it, because I loved it that much. So that tells you how I feel about it. But it's just, this had insurmountable expectations from me. Everyone telling me about how amazing this was. So I was already telling myself, okay, keep your expectations in check. And I couldn't. I was just like, all right, look, everybody just said that Black Swordsman wasn't that good. And I enjoyed it. So I was like, everybody tells me Golden Age is next level, just like epic amazing. I'm like, okay, well then I better be amazed. And amazed I was. It exceeded those expectations. And that is incredible with the legacy that this has built up behind it. But I'm not even halfway done with this manga yet, and I think that I would already consider it a top 10 comic of all time. And that's impressive. It really, really is, just based off of this arc. Here's the thing. The next couple arcs could be mediocre to bad, and it would still probably be a top 10 comic just because of these 100 plus chapters here. They really are just that good. But I love the coming of age tales, guys, and this is amazing. 100%. I would recommend this to any fantasy fan. If you can handle some extreme content, I think you're going to love it. Now let's get into a few spoilers here. Now guys, this will have spoilers for obviously up to Golden Age and some Black Swordsmen in there. I have since started reading the Lost Children arc, but I'm not going to talk about those here. And trust me, that is not affecting how I feel about it. After I finished Golden Age, I kind of needed a break because it was so good. Does that make sense? Like, I tried to explain this to my wife when we were rewatching Babylon 5. And I told her, like, when Babylon 5 was on TV, I loved it so much. And it was so good. It was blowing my mind every single week that at one point came, I had to stop watching because it was too good. Does that make sense? Does that happen to anybody else? With this, I was like, I need to process some things. I need to come up for air because I needed a break. So, yeah, that tells you kind of where I was at this. But let's go ahead and get into spoilers here. Guts was 100% justified in knifing Gambino, all right? What a piece of shit. But, you know, I understand it's at that age, you kind of hear about, like, these kids who get beat up by their dad, but they'll still defend their dad because that's their dad, you know? And he very much looks at Gambino like a father figure, as misguided as it is, especially when he sells him out the way that he does. And seeing Guts, you know, young Guts get raped, you know, you 100% understand his don't touch me shit in the Black Swordsman. And look, I feel like a piece of shit now for saying, yeah, he's super edgy and he's like telling people don't touch me and I don't like weaklings. I get all this stuff now. I get all of this stuff now. And in hindsight, it'll make you feel bad for judging him before you knew what happened to him. It just, yeah, it's dark and it's twisted and it's just frightening to read. It really is. But man, it's something. But I love the training sequences. How it kind of explained how We don't have any swords your size. That's the only sword we got. So he's using a grown man's sword as a basically a toddler here, and that goes to show, okay, that's why he uses such a big sword. That makes sense. That's why he's able to swing such a massive sword, because he's been doing nothing but using an oversized sword his whole life. I like that. I like that. It's a simple explanation, but it works. It worked quite a bit. At first with Griffith, when he meets Griffith, I couldn't tell if Griffith just wanted Guts for his sword or if he wanted him for his sword, you know. I'm not really positive, but again, I think that their friendship in this is really what makes this art go for me. I think their one-on-one conversations really do become my favorite parts of it. Griffith's his speech, like I said, about dreams and true friends has been my favorite so far. That's my favorite passage in this entire series that I've read so far. Like I said, I read it, I went back and read it again, and I was like, that's so good. I got to write that down, because like I said, at the time I hadn't actually recorded that introduction I did for why I decided to read Berserk. So it was one that I was like, okay, I got to find a way to get that dialogue into that intro, because that is just gorgeous. But I think with Casca, I was kind of standoffish on her at first, because she was just such a dick to Guts. I mean, I understood. She felt like, okay, new kid's coming in, and you know the boss is kind of taking a shine on the new kid. And, you know, what about me? I've been here the whole time. I've been your number two. What's the deal? I understood that. Obviously, we've all been in that situation, I think, before, or with the shiny new model. You feel like that's replacing you or something. But it's after, I think it's after is it after the 100 versus the 100? It might have been, I don't recall. But when Casca and Guts are stranded in that cave and they're healing. And there's these moments there where just, you know, they let each other see the vulnerability of each other. And it really does just have that moment where I was like, oh, okay. And this was the moment where I went from, God, you guys, the sexual tension, y'all should just fucking get it over with, to being like, oh God, I hope these two get together. And that just started to show me this guy knows what he's doing, this writer. He knows exactly what he's doing here. He's really planting seeds. He's doing a slow burn with it. He's definitely not doing this insta-love thing that I can't stand. He's doing romance the right way. And it's impressive because Guts barely talks sometimes, you know? And if he does talk, it's basically like, fuck this, and I don't care, and I just want to kill things, you know? He says Guts things. The way that Casca is able to carry those moments, it really does make it beautiful. And when they have that first kiss in front of that waterfall, absolutely special, guys. And I'm not this huge sap either, and it really, really got me. So again, he is just a beautiful writer. He really, really is. And it shows with the relationship between these two. I could not want these two to get together more. I'm not a big shipper guy or anything like that, but I was like, yes, I want these two together because they are awesome together. And it was, like I said, man, that moment, I was basically like a teenage girl at a Twilight premiere. I was just making eyelashes at it. It was earned. You know, I don't feel like enough fantasy does it. It never makes these relationships feel earned. And this really, really did it. So props to him, man. Props to him. The confrontation with Zod was really interesting. I like the design of Zod. He looked like some kind of villain from like a Zelda game or something, you know. But I want to know more because, I mean, this dude looks basically unbeatable. And basically, Guts just like chops through everything. He's just like, bink, you know, whatever. And so, yeah, obviously we needed if we have a super OP character, we needed even more OP big baddie. I don't know if he is the overarching big bad of this series or not, or if that's supposed to just be Griffith. I don't know, because Zod does kind of flick Griffith down, but obviously this is before he's, you know, part of the God Hand. But again, I don't know, but I hook planted for that one. The part in this where I really started to realize, oh God, I let that guard down and I fell in love with Griffith and Guts, you know, that relationship, and even knowing where it was going to end, was the departure. Now the departure gutted me a little bit. I thought for sure they were going to have a fight, and then they were going to talk about it, and Guts was going to stay. And I know from Go that this isn't going to end well, like I said, but this was like the first time I read Marvel Civil War back before the movies, guys. I'm talking about the comic, back because the comic was good and the movie was... Anyway, when I was reading that comic for the first time, and I was like, Tony, Steve, why are you fighting? Stop it! That's kind of how I felt here. I wanted these two characters I love to stop fighting, because I'm worried that it's going to end up with limbs missing, probably. But I think Guts beating Griffith so easily, it shocked me even more than it shocks Griffith in the story. So, but just there's a panel where the two of them are just like having like their two samurais before they face off. Simply gorgeous. It's what I use for the thumbnail for this, because I love that scene so much. But yeah, it was it gutted me quite a bit, as I want to see mom and dad stay together kind of thing, so it was a struggle. I think the most disturbing thing out of all of this is the King of Midland. And I think that's because not only is he just a prick, but he has like a very high sexual interest in his daughter, and he tries to rape her, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It was shocking when I actually turned the page and saw what I saw. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, so yeah, that's a real piece of shit character, and I didn't mind seeing him get what he got. But yeah, Charlotte, I don't know, honey. That one's just like, yeah, you got to get out of Dodge. And she tries, she does try. But after Griffith is imprisoned, and then he's rescued, there's a moment where Guts just like picks him up, and he is like a loaf of bread. And it's just heartbreaking to see this character that, as the reader, you put on this pedestal, because he, like I said, he's been like basically like a knight of Arthurian legend, just mythical, just magical, just perfect. And now he's just this broken thing. It's tough to see. But those moments with him and Guts, where Guts is just taking care of him, man, it's like this stuff here, man. It's like there's something wrong with my eyes. I don't understand. What is this salty discharge? It's so good. It's just devastating, and almost as devastating as the eclipse, right? I mean, oh man, the eclipse. You got to laugh or cry, really. Like I said, going in, this isn't going to go well. When you see the Black Swordsman arc, all these characters in the Band of the Hawk that I've kind of fallen in love with, I don't see any of them around. So I think I'm putting two and two together here, but still, seeing it as like a train wreck in slow motion. It is so painful to watch. Judeau's death, man, that one just really, really got me. That hurt. That hurt. I mean, I knew that, all of them are basically going to go here. But on top of that, then you see Griffith, this character that you've just grown to love, just completely rape the hell out of Casca, and it is so devastating. It is so painful to watch, and that's the point of no return. I feel like Griffith's irredeemable at this point. And that's tough. That's tough to swallow. It's one of those things that's kind of like Darth Vader. You're hoping he did some bad things, but there's still good in there. This, I'm like, I don't know if I want to see a redemption after that. I don't know. It's just awful stuff. I mean, obviously, he just sacrificed all of his friends for power, and then when he does that to Casca, it's tough stuff, man. Feels bad, man. Really, really bad. But after that, guys, I couldn't even really process like the demon child birth thing. I'm not ready. I know obviously it's probably going to come up in the future. I don't think that's one thing I'll say about this is, while I feel like this arc is a little long, for good, it's all good. There's no filler, guys. Zero filler. I felt like there was nothing there that didn't need to be there. There was never a moment where I was like, okay, let's get on it. Everything felt important. So I think that like a Jim Butcher, I think that Kentaro Miura, he isn't going to write something like that if it isn't going to be important later. He doesn't just do stuff like that to be random. So yes, I know this demon child thing is going to come back again, but like I said, I wasn't ready. I'm still not ready. I'm not ready to deal with that yet. It's too soon. I do like that it kind of ended on like a kind of a chuckle moment for me. It was a reference there to with the metal arm that Guts has to Ash from Evil Dead and Army of Darkness, where he says groovy, and I was like, that's fantastic. I love that. So I got a good chuckle out of that, but that's about the only laughing I did at that point. And that, guys, kind of takes us to the end here. So this is a little longer, obviously, because I'm going to talk spoilers as well, but guys, I could probably talk about this for 30 more minutes. I almost want to just kind of like have like a live stream just to talk about this, because it's so good. So I just want to tell you guys, Thank you for making me read this. It has absolutely met my expectations in every way and exceeded them. And like I said, I consider myself a super fan now because, you know, I'm not buying merch. My wife actually made this, by the way. Yeah. So anyhow, yeah, guys, I loved it. I loved it to death. I can't wait to keep going. Like I said, I'm not that far into the Lost. Is it called Lost Children? I can't remember what it's called. But I'm seriously, I've only like probably a couple chapters into that one. That's why I felt fine going ahead and re-recording this. But I feel good about this. I feel like I talked about a lot more things that I didn't do that first time. So maybe it was for the better. You guys let me know. Drop in the comments. Tell me what you think about the Golden Age arc. What was your favorite moment? You know, all those things. Please feel free to drop down there and talk to me. And guys, I will talk to you after I finish the Conviction arc. I should be picking it up here again really soon. I got bogged down by Project Hail Mary and the vacation and all that stuff. But I do intend to be getting back to Berserk here very soon. So drop in the comments, guys, and I will talk to you there.